Like talking to a robot.
Oh, it's unbelievable. The disembodied Tucker is
I know.
giving the embodied Tucker a run for his money.
All right.
All right. Let's do it. Hello, everyone. We're still doing it. How exciting. I'm so
Who would have
happy.
thought?
I'm so happy.
Other than everybody.
I'm so happy. I am here. I'll do it. Let's do it. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. An NFC Championship Game podcast. No big deal.
Day 15.
Oh my God. I still honestly feel like I just, was on a roller coaster for 4 hours. I'm still feeling it. Like I feel like I didn't even sleep because I'm and I'm just so happy to be here.
It's
right?
crazy.
Like a not insignificant portion of my happiness is that we get to keep doing this. Like, whoo!
And we get another Go Birds radio show.
Yes. Thank goodness. Way to go, Birds. Winning an all-timer.
Dude.
Yes.
So that game yesterday.
All-timer, man.
It really was an all-timer.
And you made a great point in the post-game pod, and I think you're dead on that even though it was stressful, that game will be remembered by us and everyone with so much more majesty and grandeur and all that forever because it was a great close game.
Well, a couple things. One, it's pretty crazy when you rewatch the replay of the final play. How many games end with the ball just straight up going out of bounds? Like normally it's like an incompletion or a drop. So just watching it's pretty crazy. He just throws that thing out of bounds. Like again, was not a good throw.
Jaylen Carter arguably
saved the
season on back-to-back plays.
Well, I don't know if we talked about this on the postgame pod, but on the sack he had, somebody was open over the middle.
Wide open. It was
I can't see who slipped.
It's one of the two tight ends or whatever. Wide
like
open.
Maybe he doesn't get in, but he at least gets to the one or the two.
Oh, no doubt.
And that's that. But so that has stuck with me. The other thing is, have you seen the replay of Saquon running where it's kind of field level from like the way back?
It's the coolest thing.
And there's no audio. It's just like the crowd. Yeah. Dude, crazy.
It reminds me of it reminded me of like when the Phillies were in their big run and they would do the home runs with no crowds. It was like that kind of thing. And shout out, we didn't mention enough yesterday. We talked a lot about the game and stuff. Shout out to the crowd, man.
It was crazy.
You through the TV the entire game. It was like this constant noise coming from it, and it would swell and it was loud, and like they stayed in it when it was tight, when it was stressful. That last two plays, like they were loud as hell. Like awesome job.
I'll also say once the snow got there, it was like they were preparing for war, and once the snow started, it was like it's game time.
It's go time, yeah.
Like once the snow started, people went crazy, and it added to it. Like when there was
magical,
snow going up in the ground.
Magical.
So two other things. I mean, we're just gonna, I guess,
real
bounce
quick.
back.
Should we?
Oh yeah, we can't. Yes,
hold on. All
right.
So let's see. Let's dive
in.
Random page.
Kristen started to read the book, by the way. So
here, hold on. That's not okay. Here we go. This is him talking.
All right.
Okay. The brain that changes itself.
All right. Excited to see where this
rewire our brains. Here we go.
Okay.
Every time you learn something new, a neural pathway is created that thoughts and feeling travel along. Scientists previously thought that our brains were like machines. Once they formed, they didn't really change. Now we know that our brains continuously evolve. According to Dr. Kurt Fisher, the
well-known Dr. Kurt Fisher,
director of the mind. That's a hell of a title.
Imagine that on a card.
Just call me director of the mind.
Yes.
Thank you. Brain and education program at Harvard University. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, sounds like
there are a few broad principles that have come out of neuroscience. Number one is that the brain is remarkably plastic. Even in middle or old age, it's still adapting very actively to our environment. It's adapting to us being in the NFC Championship
So
game.
it is.
Shout
Couple
out to Jim
things.
Murphy.
One, it's funny to think of someone that has no idea what the inner excellence bit is, and they're just like, "Why are they reading
what is
this
happening
on
right now? This is so weird. This has nothing to do with anything."
It is like, how often do you feel like you still learn new things at this age?
It's a great question.
I do think you have to actively try to learn.
Yeah, it's harder. It's harder.
Well, I just think you're not presented with as much new information.
Well, look, like I'm a big cliches are cliches for a reason.
There we go.
Can't teach an old dog new tricks.
That's a good one. You rarely get a cliche for a reason for a non-sports.
I know, right? It's a legit one though.
So two things. I didn't say this on the pod. I said it on the daily, but I think it's funny. All right. So there's like 4.5 minutes to go. The Eagles are about to get the ball, and I'm thinking to myself,
this is after they were up 13. Then the Rams.
This is right before Saquon's touchdown.
Okay, so
they just got the ball.
That. Okay,
yeah. So they just got the ball, and I think so it's 4.5 minutes to go, and I'm like, all right, I have to go pee, but I know if I don't do it now, like it's gonna be like another
post game.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I run to the bathroom, and on my way there, I'm thinking, how funny would it be if on the first play, They score a touchdown. And then I'm like, well, what are the odds? Like, so I'm starting to walk back. And as I'm walking to my seat, he's like 40 yards from the end.
That is
unbelievable. I can hear the crowd, like, as I'm starting to walk to the seat. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Like, I heard the initial one that was like, all right, a play has been made. And I'm like, it's a good play. And then it gets louder and louder. And as I go down, I'm like, you have to be kidding me. So.
That's amazing.
So here's the other thing. So obviously I've been wearing like this ring that tracks like my heart rate and my stress. And normally on a given Sunday, I don't experience any stress during a game. That's just, I don't.
Who you
right?
are. Yeah.
It's who I am, right?
Yes, I'm sure my mood ring would say differently. But
dude, yes. I had almost 4 hours of stress yesterday.
Yeah, dude. Joe DeCameron brought this up in the air, and I'm with him. Like, he in the running for most stressful
it was crazy.
Eagle game of our lifetime.
Well, the other thing is, so like ESPN will do those graphics where it's like
the win probability.
Dude, and their win probability never dropped below 50% yesterday.
Wow, it's wild.
Which is when they had the ball driving and they were at like the 13, I would have swore it would have been like 90%.
Well, it's because like it's the same thing I said last night, and I felt it. I said it to Emily after. Like I felt it so strong. Where during that Packers game, even though it got close at points, like at no point, zero, did I think they were going to lose. Last night, like
I was convinced
that Puka catch. I was like, "Wow, that was it."
They were just moving. Yeah,
I like it. It really felt like this season was like on the brink.
Now, here's a question: do you think we should have believed in them more in that spot?
Look,
because I was pretty sure they were going to.
If you had had me bet my life, I still would have bet they won, but I was very nervous.
I would have bet they lost in that moment. Yeah. I mean, just like they were driving down the field, there was no time. And the other part of that is, like, I didn't know if I had confidence in the offense then to go get the field goal on the other end.
Well, that was my issue. I had none with that.
Right,
just
and the field goal.
The combination of Hurts' injury and Elliott, I was like, well, that's not happening.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So
I was like, the defense has to stop.
If they scored with like 40 seconds to go in this, I mean, who knows? But like, it really was this close to being over. But I also think there probably has to be some version of that during every Super Bowl run. Like, to your point about against the Packers, it was
game.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like, forget how they played, forget any of that. They could have played awesome yesterday. Like, but like, there has to be some version on a Super Bowl run where it almost doesn't happen. And I don't think the Packers was that. No, you know, to your point,
I agree.
Like, they didn't play great in the Packers game overall. Like, the defense did, but like offensively, it wasn't
in control.
Yeah, but there was never a true moment. Like we said, there was maybe 7 minutes of game time where I thought that might. But yesterday, like the safety,
it was the whole game.
Yeah,
yesterday, again, other than after that amazing 78-yard Saquon run, and we're up 13 points. Just missed the kick. It's like, the missed kick, but it's like, all right, we can relax for a second. Like, I think we're gonna win. Well, and then they score quick, and it's like, we're back. Like,
dude, they scored the only point so
whole
quick.
Game we could relax. That was it.
They scored so quick.
Like,
by
it was
the way.
nothing.
Like it was almost like, because again, after the Saquon touchdown, I was like, well, this is over. Like,
so we all did. Merrill said it on the broadcast. Merrill's like, I think that'll do it.
Right.
And it's like, it didn't do it.
A minute later, it's like, oh, actually, this is
Mike
very
Tirico
close.
said it. Like, everyone's like, yep, that,
you know, it's funny. So Mike Tirico was actually in the elevator on my way downstairs from the press box, I think. Super nice guy. I didn't talk to him, but like, just, he was talking to everybody. And this Eagles fan goes like, I can't believe we almost lost that. Like, we're definitely going to lose that, or something like that. And he was like, why don't you enjoy the win and you believe in your team?
Welcome to Philly, Mike.
In like this super, like, very Mike Tirico nice voice. He was like, why don't you just enjoy the win?
He did a great job too, I thought, Tirico. And his call of the Saquon run was fantastic.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. Yeah.
Fantastic. I know, it came out. Well, Chad,
I know Fran's here.
Fran Rojas, I always I go like Final Fantasy, or, you know, I kind of have fun with it.
I imagine he gets a lot of that in his life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just like, I'm still taking deep breaths from it.
I just feel like
it was this close to being
like
over.
A sigh of relief.
This close.
Like, that's all I can feel is a sigh of relief. Like, it was like, especially because we talk so much about how important it is, obviously, for them to win it this year, especially after 2 years ago. And we know how fleeting these chances are in the Saquon season, and Jaylen Carter playing like every snap of the second half of the season.
Yeah, well, obviously we'll spend time on
Carter. Like, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, wow, I don't know if you'll get this to work out this way again. And like, it felt like yesterday was the first time, because of the Packers game, we didn't feel it, like, where it was like, wow, this could end prematurely.
Well, it
was like, God, that, like, facing that, like, actually facing that and really feeling it was terrifying, man.
It makes you realize how kind of dumb luck all this is. Like, in a way, like, obviously there's talent and all that. Like, let's talk about the Lions. The Lions have 12 men on the field. Like, a dumb fluke thing like that.
Horrible penalty.
Yeah.
One of the worst I remember.
Crazy.
D Ford is the only one I can think of that's worse. But that's right there.
But like, think about how silly that is. Or like, honestly, if Lane Johnson doesn't flinch yesterday, they get the touchdown.
Did you hear what they said? Apparently, I can't remember. Was it Jaylen? Someone said that the defense was simulating the count, which you're not allowed to. They were calling it out. So they said that Lane, like it should have been a penalty against
I don't know how you would call that. That's crazy.
Well, they were calling hut. Like they're trying.
No, I'm saying I don't know.
It's illegal to do that defensively. You can't say that stuff to try and get the offensive lineman to move. They said they were doing that.
Wow.
So
well,
for what it's worth, maybe something the refs will pay attention.
So I didn't know you weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But 2, from a ref's perspective, I don't know how you would possibly officiate that. Like I'm just
so tough.
So like
many things happening.
Whose voice it is. You're not that close. Yeah. That's crazy. But I mean, hey, props to the Rams. Like, if the Eagles had done it and got away with it.
And it's wild how many of those, like that moment, Saquon doesn't get in. And I think it was probably the right call.
Yeah,
like,
it was very
so close. I didn't think they'd overturn it because it was so close. But regardless, that one, the AJ drop, like we talked about, Isaiah Rodgers not getting in before that, before it gets it. Like there were just so many examples in this game where it was like, to the point we made where the Puka catch, where it was like, if they did lose, we would have so many things.
So many little things.
That. Like it was just one of those games where and that's the only reason it felt like they might lose, because it felt like all these things were
there were a lot of little things where at the end you go like, well, once he misses the second extra point, and you're like, well, how do you overcome that?
Of course.
You take a safety.
I know. It was like the play in the Tampa game.
I know.
It's so funny. It was like that. It wasn't as bad. The one in the Tampa game was worse.
Yeah, they snapped it like a 19.
Yeah, it was worse. It was worse. And he was healthy. I mean, this one, at least he like had just gotten hurt. I blame Kellen Moore for calling a pass there.
Although didn't he come out in a boot at the end of the Tampa game?
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Yeah,
he had the bracelet. Like, I thought that was a bad play call. Same like we talked about last night, calling the little bootleg because of the injury, not because of the play call itself. But yeah, like that was, I mean, just unbelievable. Well, I mean, in that moment, it's like, how could you possibly do that? You're up 3 points. It was like the worst possible thing you could do in that moment.
So it's also pretty crazy that I actually don't think like they played that well. And it's still an epic game we'll always remember. I'm going to rewatch the game today.
I agree. Outside of Saquon, because you like, honestly, you could say Saquon played well. You can't see the offensive line was great.
I agree. They got a ton of pressure. They got a ton of pressure.
Jaylen needs to throw the ball away, but also Jaylen was under duress. Like it was not like it was like a clean pocket at all for him.
Jared Verse was awesome. Byron
awesome. That whole line was
They lost Brandon Fisk, which was
7
big.
sacks, man. They weren't all on Jaylen. Like some of them were, but
it's crazy.
16 sacks in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Imagine getting 16 sacks in 2 weeks and losing one of those games. So Jimmy Kempski tweeted this out today. I don't have it in front of me. But I think every one of Jaylen's sacks, he had the ball for over 3.5 seconds. Mm-hmm. So, like, you do have to – that's on the offense. And, look, it's snowing. It's hard to see. But, like, after the Packers game, we were both much more in the camp of he played well enough, didn't turn it over. Like, everyone's being too harsh. We'll probably talk about Jaylen more tomorrow after I rewatch the game. But I, as of now, am in the camp of, like, Jaylen was bad yesterday. Like he took – too many negative plays. And it's not all on him. Guys have to be open. There's pressure. But it's his job to get rid of the ball. And I thought yesterday, like, he took a lot of negative plays. He didn't turn it over, but when you consistently take sacks like that, like, I don't like it almost equals up to a turnover. I mean, he got him out of field goal range. He cost him 2 points. Like, I thought yesterday, we'll have to talk about this throughout the week. Like, obviously he's going to play and he's going to start. I'm not saying that. But if Jaylen's like 60%, I have serious concerns. I have concerns about this game.
And look, I think it's hard. Like that first run was huge. That 44.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge
I thought he
positive
looked good early. Like I do think it's kind of hard to judge the game as a whole. The snow and the injury. I do think like he was a different player after that. His knee got ripped.
I agree with that.
Ended this guy. He just was.
I agree with that.
So he made some big throws. Some big plays on that last drive to score. Like,
the fourth down throw.
The fourth down throw was huge. The throw to Goddard earlier was huge. Like, he made some big throws. And look, AJ let him down. Like, flat out. I mean, that's a touchdown. AJ dropped the ball, The other drop to AJ. Devontae, I thought that was a good throw. Like, I don't blame Devontae.
I want to rewatch it.
It's a little dangerous. It makes me a little.
Well, I just thought watching it live, I thought if you put more under it, it's a touchdown. Like, I thought
maybe
I'll rewatch it.
Regardless, I thought that Jaylen wasn't great, but I thought given all that happened in the course of the game and the snow and the injury, like, I thought Jaylen, I think he was better than the numbers and what, the sacks. The sacks were horrible, but outside that, like, I thought he made some plays when they needed him, and he didn't make a massive mistake in terms of turning the ball over.
Right.
But I agree, the safety is essentially like a turnover. The losing 3 points is essentially like a turnover in some ways.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a worse turnover because it costs you points and you give
who knows if Jake would have made the kick anyway. But regardless, I I don't think he was like horrible, but obviously it was not a great.
So I'm more in the camp of he was horrible, but once I rewatch it, I think I'll have a better read. You get a better view of the game, to be honest, just because you watch it on TV. Once I rewatch it, I think I'll have a better opinion, but I'm currently more in the camp of like, this was maybe one of like they won despite him type of games. Like I do think that first touchdown was obviously huge. And I'll say this, like Stafford was a better quarterback on the field, but Stafford missed a wide open Puka Nacua down the which should have been a touchdown. He had Slay beat by like a yard.
Yep.
He fumbled it at least once, if not twice, at least once. And like he took sacks too, So
totally,
like all the quarterbacks made mistakes. The difference was it was just glaring how much better the Rams passing attack was than the Eagles. I mean, Stafford had, I think, almost 300 yards.
Stafford looked good, considering the weather, considering
he
all.
threw it 44 times, right? 44 times. So, like, he had big throws, big downs. Like, the Rams moved the ball through the air way better. And for what it's worth, they ran the ball decent, too. That's what's crazy about the Eagles' defense. They forced the turnovers, and they got the big stop late, but they were for sure not. They were not. They were now the performance against the Packers was one of the best defensive performance. So obviously it's tough to
look. I think they missed Nakobe
and they missed Quinyon,
but they missed Nakobe. I think losing Quinyon early
in game definitely
was such a game changer for them. It was a totally different defense without Quinyon out there.
So
no, but I agree. Look, and I think on the whole, you take the defensive performance you got. They came up with big plays on turnovers. They made big sacks. Ultimately giving up 22 points, like that's okay. It's 20 points, really, I guess.
20
safety.
Points,
Like you get on them for that drive that allowed it to be close to the end. Like playing as off as they were. Like that was the one spot where I really will rip the D.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I think that was a good enough performance to win.
And it's not a huge deal because they won and they only gave up 20 points. But the Rams did move the ball. I think the Rams had over 400 yards of offense or something like that. So I mean they survived. That's really the only way to put it. Like, and we talk so much about how Saquon saves the offense. Yesterday, Jaylen Carter saved.
So I don't ever remember a game where there were so clearly like two MVPs of the game.
Yeah.
Like it's like, all right, Saquon on offense.
And on opposite sides of the ball.
Like they are like put them above like steps above everyone else. They were both equally imperative. Like they lose without either of those guys.
Well, and the underrated thing here is he played almost every snap in the snow.
So it was the second highest percentage of snaps in a playoff game, or the most defensive lineman has played in a playoff game since Aaron Donald in 2021. That run of the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, played a full game of snaps. Carter missed 2 snaps yesterday.
So I think there's
an interior defensive lineman.
2 main takeaways from that, and the first one is props to Jaylen Carter for putting in all the work to be able to do this.
No doubt.
Like,
especially because he's done it this whole second half.
The whole second and in the snow. Like
that takes a lot of
discipline too.
And not just that, like physical. You need to be in such shape to be able to do that.
And
that size.
As you know, I'm sure a lot of listeners know it's hard to be in really good shape.
No doubt.
It takes a lot of discipline.
And to be the guy at the end of the game who's making the biggest plays, like that's like playing the entire game. At the end of the game in the snow, he's the guy making the plays. Like that's like, wow, man.
And he didn't really come free. Like he won at the line of scrimmage and got there, got right in Stafford's
face. It was Aaron Donald-esque, like the Super Bowl against the Bengals when he made those 2 plays at the end to win it, essentially.
And that's what's so crazy. It's not the Keanu Neal play, but it is one of those plays where you go, if it just is a half a second different. Like we're not here today.
Well, it's like the Julio play.
Well, I think Keanu Neal just in terms of the
weirdness, but it is a lot like the Julio at the end of the game. Like it really was. You mentioned it last night. It was a lot like that Falcons game in terms of their 5-point lead, 6-point lead, like similar type stuff. The chance to win it, like it was.
And look, I know we're being like hyperbolic because it's Monday. It's celebratory. I don't know if Hassan Reddick was obviously very impactful. Fletcher Cox had an awesome career. In terms of like guys that I go into a game thinking they can almost win it, I don't know if when's the last time I can think of an Eagles defensive player that was as good as Carter is right now. Like Fletcher was awesome, but to me, it feels like Fletcher was like kind of always like an 8.5 out of 10. I feel like Carter consistent, like is starting to give these performances where it's like, he's like an 11. Look, this is what like Fletcher was always second fiddle to Aaron Donald. I kind of feel like Jaylen Carter's Aaron Donald.
So agree.
Do you agree with that assessment? Like don't mean it against Fletcher.
Like I think Jaylen Carter is one of the best defensive players in football. And to your point, he is, in my opinion, right now, and again, career longevity, but right now, the way he's playing, he's the best Eagles defensive player since Brian Dawkins, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like just in terms
about that.
Yeah, I mean, You know, it's funny. The other name that's popping in my head is Zach Bond. You've been talking about
Well, but seriously, you're right. I thought about it. I always thought when I say this, I'm like, all right, he's better than Bond, but like, wow, what a season.
Yeah, I mean, they had like, like Asante Samuel was awesome. Like they've had a lot of good defensive
They've had guys,
players.
but
but just in terms of an ability where you look at him and you're like, this dude is a difference-making defensive player. I'm struggling to think of one off the top of my head. Again, like Hassan belongs.
And he has a chance to be the best defensive player in football, and we're seeing that now. Like right now, he was the best player in that football game. Him and Saquon. He is like, man, like he has a chance to be Aaron freaking Donald.
Well, and so here's the other thing too, and this is such a good example of how like things swing, whatever. But the clip of him before the game where he's like, let's bet our game checks. Like
I told Emily, I showed it to Emily. I was so
crazy.
Fired up by it.
It's just like. What more could you ask for as an Eagles fan?
I know.
This dude before the game.
Especially Jared Verse.
Jared Verse is like, let's bet our game checks on this.
Man.
It's crazy. But, and then the other thing too.
$77K no less.
I know, just casually 7. So definitely give Jaylen Carter all the flowers, all the credit.
Yep.
But I also want to give the Eagles credit too. Because like when they took Jaylen Carter at 9, it was in some ways an easy pick because of like just the talent. But 8 teams passed on that talent. And if the Eagles don't take him, who knows how far.
Well, I'll take it a step further. I think it's not just taking him at 9. It's the way they've brought him.
That's where I was going.
You know what I mean? Like the fact, and we talked about at the time, but like we said at the time that Jaylen Carter needed the Eagles even more than they.
Yes.
And it's so been proven true. Like he came into
a
stable, perfect, like well-run organization with friends, with people he knows, and like it has clearly gotten the best.
And I think the snap count is a simplistic way to look at it, but it's such a good example of what they've done with this guy. They have taken somebody who, when they drafted him, was obviously going through a lot off the field. There was a whole thing with like the workout at Georgia Day. He's out of shape. The stuff coming out from Georgia didn't like the even head coach kind of trash on him a little. Like, so they took that guy, and we don't always know like what, but they've turned him into like a machine, right?
Iron
like
Man.
Playing all the snaps. Like he's likable. He's a leader, and he deserves the credit. But like the Eagles, not only when they drafted him, they knew that they had to put him in the right environment, and they have absolutely put him in that right environment. And it's like when they drafted him, remember, like there was a clip of Howie's Howie's office, and it says something like to win the Super Bowl, you have to take big swings, right? Jaylen Carter was a big swing. Like it could have been a big time miss, and he obviously is not. And they just like Howie deserves credit, Lurie deserves credit, Nick deserves credit, the player development guys deserve credit, like his teammates, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, like they deserve credit.
And the
Georgia guys as well. And like he has turned into like we are watching like a historic player. The way he's playing.
Yeah. Look, again, like it's super early in his career. Things happen, whatever. But like we're watching a guy, and these guys you don't let him leave. Like if he's this good, he'll be an Eagle.
He'll make so much.
Like there is a chance, like a better than you could ever think in a second year of watching a chance that this guy will be the best Eagles defensive player of all time.
Yeah.
Like when you consider when Reggie left, like you consider like he might not ever be as
and Reggie's a Packer.
Right. But that's but Reggie what? Like I'm saying if he can be good, and he's got to be great for a long time. And he's
Look, it's Monday.
The point is like that's the ceiling for this.
Yes, 100%. And the sack.
Awesome.
And we talk so much about the sack. He forced the fumble too.
Like Kyron Williams.
Just punched it out. Like he makes game-changing plays.
And it's like on the plays he's getting held or this or that. It's just
he forces double teams. He makes guys better.
Totally. Nolan Smith again.
Nolan Smith,
another great
Moro Jamo, big sack.
And Smith coming out with the Kobe jersey.
That was really cool. I saw that after
really, really like, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They check a lot. They check a lot of the boxes of like.
Well, I think that's how they can win these games. They're tough, they're physical and all that, but they are a team.
They are.
They fight, and they like it's all you could want, man. It really is. All right, and we got the whole week to get into stuff. Let's quickly spin it forward a little bit on 2 things. One, where you at with Jaylen? You were in the locker room last night. You've heard everything that it said. It seems like for what we know as of now is Jaylen saying I'll be okay, or but being cagey about it.
So I had to like
I finished and like
so I had to like push him a little to say he was gonna play.
So where are you at with Jaylen just today, right now? Not Ian Rappaport saying that he avoided major injury. They believe him and Quinyon. Good news there.
Right.
Where you at?
So with the knee, especially, like I think it's something he won't even know until like Wednesday.
How does it swell?
Yeah, like how he wakes up today, how he practices. Now, to be clear, I would be very surprised if he doesn't play. I'd be very, very like. First of all, he's gonna he's a type of guy, like, you'll have to lock him in his house.
Oh, totally.
Right? So they will not, it's not going to be like a mutual decision.
I mean, he does deserve it.
Yes, for sure. He deserves it.
Warrior,
he's an absolute warrior. And I don't think there'll be like a mutual decision that we're better off with 100% Kenny. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. My concern with Jaylen is just,
if you can't run, it's a problem.
Yeah, like, it's a major problem. I don't know what to tell you.
It's
like
a different player.
Yeah.
And it's a different threat. It changes the way defenses play.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the other thing. Like, they're facing a really.
So this was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Washington. Like,
I'm worried. My initial gut reaction to this game is I'm worried. Like, my initial gut reaction about the Rams was they're definitely going to win. My initial gut reaction about the Packers was I was very confident they would win. Not as confident as the Rams, but like, my initial gut reaction to this game is I think it's like a 50-50 toss-up. Like, I don't feel whatever. I don't know what the reaction is. Maybe you know more because you're on the radio this morning. I don't feel
I don't think
let's
it's like
party all week and it's a foregone conclusion. Like, they could lose this game. Just putting they could lose.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think if I were sure that Jaylen was fully healthy, I would be confident. I wouldn't be like, not like last week, like the Rams. And again, like, that was way closer than I thought, hand up. But I am not going in saying they're definitely winning this game. I could see them losing it. Jayden Daniels alone, could win the football game for them.
We just need to get this out of the way.
But I am confident. I do think that, if Jaylen can move, the Eagles are a better football team. If Quignon's there, if they can go into this game as healthy as they entered this last game, I think they'll beat Washington. They're 5.5-point favorite. I think that's the right number, somewhere in there. That's good.
They've been over a 5-point favorite in every game.
It's a legitimate favorite.
Yeah, it is.
Like, they're not to mention one thing that, let me be the first to say it. This will be the 4th straight road game Washington is playing.
Good point.
4.
Good point.
4 straight.
And they had to win all of them.
The numbers historically on that are super duper
duper great
bad.
Point. It's a great point.
Like, I do think it sets up. Well, I know they get an extra day rest. I think it sets up really well for the Eagles. It's just, can Jaylen move? It changes everything.
And I think the difference is I didn't really think the Rams and the Packers were capable of beating the Eagles if the Eagles played their A game. And I don't think Washington is. But I can envision a world where
Jaylen Daniels changes everything. Like, he is the best quarterback they've faced right now. The way he's playing, and Stafford's great. Yeah. Jayden Daniels is like a can win a game on his own, difference-making type player. Now, where you could have him sacked on 4th and 5, and he's going to fight. Like, he is alone. Can win this game. I
mean, when we talked about Detroit versus Washington, the reason we said we thought Washington would win is because they had the better quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think that,
and that's how it played out.
That's
the reason.
As a group, everybody just needs to accept early on Monday.
Oh, they have the better quarterback. This
Washington, it's not a shot at Jaylen.
Jaylen's hurt. If Jaylen were fully healthy, maybe it'd be a different thing. I think Jayden Daniels is more talented. You could argue Jaylen's been in the NFC Championship game before. There's a rookie. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
But I agree with you. I think with the Jaylen hurt, like, Jayden Daniels is the scariest thing about it.
And one thing, too, that's true is because I think about a lot with CJ Stroud and what you said. Like, last year.
Yeah, totally.
So, yes, next year, Jayden Daniels might not be as good.
But
right now, like, he is playing at an unreal level. That team has special qualities, right? I'm not saying I was wrong about Dan Quinn, but right now, like, Dan Quinn has like a thing going there. Their whole thing they do after every game of like anytime, anywhere, any place. Like, that's pretty awesome.
No.
Now, what the Eagles do have is they have the better defense. I think they have the better skill players. The Washington lost their starting right guard,
which is a big deal.
He's really good for them.
Jaylen Carter,
right? And 4 straight road games. So ultimately, I'll pick the Eagles. You just got to hope. Like, that's kind of what it comes down to. You have to hope Jayden Daniels is not super special. You have to hope Jaylen is, outside of the injury, just better too. Like, just better than he was yesterday. On this safety, and, it's hard for me to say, I'm not in the pocket, but like, it looks like Goddard is wide open over the middle. Like, no one within a mile of him. So Jaylen has to play better. And the defense also has to play better. Like, they have to play better than they did.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, Quignon will be a big one to watch.
And last thought before we get to final thoughts. Watching the Lions and Washington game, and I'm very rarely in this camp, I was impressed by like Washington's scheme. Not that I'm like bringing down the X and O's, but I do think like this one's on the coaches too. Like Vic versus Cliff Kingsbury is a big time matchup.
Yeah, I agree.
And Kellen Moore, like, do something. Like, if Jaylen's hurt, like, come in with a game plan where you have guys wide open and easy throws to make. So it's a third matchup between the teams. That's going to involve coaching a lot. I think the coaches are like a big time part of it. I think
it's a great point.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And look, Washington's been really coached well. I mean,
they're red hot. They are
and
red
they've
hot.
gotten like that defense. Dan Quinn has gotten a lot out of the talent they have.
Yes.
Like, they're not the most talented defense, but you know what?
They have Terry McLaurin.
They the ball. Like,
they have good
got
running backs. I mean, Zach Ertz, like, props to him, but like, he's not Goddard at this point.
No.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game.
I'm really excited.
I mean,
really
divisional
excited.
game at home for the go to the Super Bowl.
It's pretty, exactly. A divisional, we haven't seen that many divisional playoff games in our lifetime.
Crazy.
Really, like a handful. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's get to final thoughts.
All right, so I have a rule change in the NFL.
Ooh.
I honest to God can't tell if you're just gonna hate this with all your heart.
It could go either way.
Or if you're gonna like it. All right. I think if a quarterback throws an interception and it's intercepted in the end zone, so like a red zone interception, the defense should get a point. If you throw an interception in the end zone, now we could talk about if you fumble it at a 5 and it rolls in. I'm not as into that. If you intercept the ball in the end zone, I think the defense should get a point. You don't hate it as much as you thought.
No, exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't.
I can see it in your face.
My gut instinct is I would say no, but
it's a little arcadey. But
I expected to be I hate this. It's okay. I don't hate it. I wouldn't do it, but I don't hate it.
All right, here's another confession.
Mm-hmm.
It was Kristen's idea.
Hey!
Yeah, I like it though.
Kristen.
I like it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I think it's interesting.
It's interesting.
You know?
I agree. Yeah, because look, I think the argument is that the red zone turnover is already so damaging to begin with that it's you don't need to give the team anything.
Right. And I will say I do hate the rule that if you fumble it out of the that whole if someone's going in and I don't like that. But I don't know. It feels like a good, be an interesting twist to the game.
People would love it.
I'm sure people would love it. Yeah.
All right. I have mentioned this a couple years ago. I think I haven't brought it up since, and now it's go time with it. So I need advice.
Okay.
From the Go Birds parents out there.
Okay.
Listeners. So, obviously Zoe's 6. We all saw her on the post-game show. Shout out to Zoe.
I mean, we need her the rest of the way.
What we do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
If they keep winning, you'll keep.
You've always been a big fan.
That's what we do. We bring kids to press conference.
Yes, that's right.
But so when she was younger, when kids are growing up, it's adorable the way they say things.
They say the darndest things.
They say the darndest things. Yeah, that should be a show or something.
Yeah.
But especially they'll say the funniest dumb. I'll bring them up where Zoe will be just say something silly. But also just the way they pronounce words is very adorable, right?
Yes.
But as they grow up, they learn and they learn.
Yeah.
I'm down to only a couple words that she still pronounces like she did when she was
now. But him
a young.
You think
kid.
She's doing it?
No, she said so Valentine's, she says instead of times.
Okay.
She says Minja instead of ninja. She says Matella instead of Nutella. It's an MN thing.
Right.
And then there are a couple words like pattern instead of pattern. She'll say, what's my obligation as a parent here to look, I want my daughter to be smart. I want people to be smart. I want her to be well-spoken and all that. But at the same time, I love hearing her it's so adorable. And it takes me back to, something that is fleeting and almost gone or whatever. What's my obligation? Can I just write it out? Because Emily's always trying to correct her. And I'm shut up. Let her say Valentine's until someone else corrects her. Give me this. How am I a bad parent for letting my daughter sound like an idiot in certain cases?
Obviously, I don't have kids. But my initial thought when you said this was I more think about if she's you don't want to get made fun of.
Right.
Exactly. That was my initial school and stuff.
Right. And if she's
I don't think it's
wrong, if she thinks something means something that it doesn't, she would look like an idiot.
It also feels like a very correctable
just a
problem.
Little thing. She says Valentine's.
It's not like she's going to be 13 and be it's actually Valentine's.
Someone is it's going to happen where eventually there's going to go away. So, why do I have to be the one to do it? Can I enjoy it as long as it's there?
I actually think I'm with you.
Okay.
Because if she was doing something where you could say in 4 years, this is going to be hard to correct.
Yeah.
But this is a very
exactly.
correctable.
This is not something that is going to plague her for the rest of her life. Most likely.
Right.
Okay.
So that's where I fall.
Okay. Let me know, because part of me is also just teach her to say the right things. What are we doing here?
But I think this is she's not misusing a word.
Okay,
it's I think it's a pretty correctable thing.
Good.
Is my read on it.
On the post-game show, we'll get her to say something.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. She just can't mispronounce Go Birds.
That's right. That would never happen. All right. Tomorrow, the next day. Let's go.
Then the next day. You realize, also just that if they win on Sunday, we are then opening the door to essentially 14 more podcasts.
Oh yeah. So we will get to 30 or whatever.
Yeah, we'll get back to whatever we did the first year.
So cool.
Yeah.
Just bringing it.
I wonder if we'll do the Super Bowl show again.
I
think we would. Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? Give us a shot.
I would like to. Yeah. But I just thinking about it.
Either way, we're going to be here every freaking day talking to you guys. That's for damn sure.
Any preference? Bills.
So I actually think it's like I want to say that I think the Chiefs are worse than the Bills, but it's like, come on, like it's the freaking Chiefs.
Yeah, I kind of
like,
feel the same.
I
about
think
both.
I think the Bills would be more fun.
Yeah, I agree.
So Eagles Bills.
I'm not into the rematch. It doesn't do it.
I would say I think Eagles Bills is more fun because I think it's like 6-1 in terms of who you want to play.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where I fall.
All right. So we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm so happy.
Here we go.
Let's keep it rolling,
I can't
boys.
believe they won.
Keep it rolling. NFC
Yeah.
Championship game at home. Let's go.
It's crazy.
The road to the Super Bowl goes through Philadelphia. Love it. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, these items.